the last little piece of advice that I've found, I have some attendants who were stretching out their hours to make more money, and I actually ended up deciding to pay people on a per-shift basis. So depending on whether it's a morning or a night, I pay different amounts because they typically take different amounts of time. It's not necessary, and most people aren't going to cheat you, but it's an option to sort of help curtail that. So, next slide.
Okay, Vance is now going to discuss my favorite part of this webinar because this topic is the only reason that I have lived a successful and independent life. So, Vance.
All right. Well, that's a good build-up. I do want to say, by the way, just a quick note that when you were talking about hiring care attendants, and sometimes you look at the way that they do their hair or their makeup, and you just know that's the one to go for. I mean, if I had a nickel for every time I hired a care attendant based on their ability to do my makeup, I'd be a rich man. So that is good advice. Now, as far as building your network goes, at the end of the day, your ability to be successful in life is going to depend in very large part and measure to the network that you're able to build for yourself. Expand your network. Now, by the way, when I say, each of us belongs to a network, let's just talk for one quick second. What does that mean? These are the people you interact with, your friends, your family, your network, if you're going to be living independently, may include your PCA. It may include different funding sources, folk rehab, counselors, doctors, MDA offices, these sorts of people. Map out your personal network. Look and see where it is that you're well connected. If you look and recognize, wow, I have no contacts in the disabled community, well, that shows you where you need to reach out to next. Overcome your fears. Don't let your insecurities or your shyness hold you back. You got to get out there, and you're going to be your best advocate. At the end of the day, this is your care that we're talking about, and it's your independence. And you have to own that and do as much as you can to make sure that you're taken care of. And so often, we tend to be a little shy about that. We don't want to put people out, or we don't want to step outside that comfort zone to really cross the threshold into independent living. What I would say is don't just cross the threshold, bulldoze your way through it. Discover your true resources. They're going to be your friends. I've heard it said many, many times, you can never have enough friends, and that's so true. I can't tell you how many times it has been a friend that has driven me to the doctor or taken me to get, errands done, things like that. It has been a friend who has stepped in when a care attendant has fallen through, or when a care attendant been between care attendants. It is your friends and your family that will always be there for you, no matter what. And oftentimes, if you're really lucky, you'll be able to hire your friends as your care attendants, and or your care attendants will become your friends. And that's just a wonderful position to be in. Enjoy the fruits of independence. It's fun. It feels great to know that you're making it on your own. But be responsible. Understand that you don't have the same luxuries that other people have, and that independence tends to come so naturally for them. Get an education. Budget your finances. Be very, very responsible and meticulous about the way that you manage your money, because you have to find a way to do more with less. Plan for the unexpected. They were touching on that earlier. Have backup care attendants. Talk to a friend. Hey, listen, if my care attendant ever, gets a flat tire on the freeway and I'm in a bind, can I call you? That sort of thing. Make arrangements at work. Listen, if I have to call in sick, is that okay? And be proactive. just get out there and get her done, as they say. I just want to point out that everybody that's listening to this right now has overcome tremendous obstacles in their life. Don't look at independent living as this huge hurdle. Rather, look at it as a wonderful opportunity that you have the right to, in the same way that others have the right to. Just because you have a physical disability doesn't mean that you shouldn't live a happy, full, healthy, independent life, and that you might have the resources to do so, the proactivity, and the network to allow you to do that. That's my hope for everyone.
Thank you. If you'll do the next slide, I think our time is limited, so these next few slides, Katrina and I will try and get through these as quickly as we can. Katrina?
Sure. Being a valued and contributing member of society, I think that's something that everybody wants to do, whether you're disabled or not. And I think sometimes it can feel a little more challenging when you have a disability, but there's no reason for it to have to be. It's just about making sure that you meet your responsibilities and interact with people, and don't shut yourself in. I think one of the most important things for building your network, as Vance was talking about, is developing a social circle. I think sometimes it's easy to get shy and to get used to your little bubble of your high school and your family, and now all of a sudden you're going to have to meet new people. But I think it's really important to go out there. If you're at school, invite somebody to go to the dining hall with you. If you're at work, ask somebody to go to coffee or to meet after work for a drink or something. It's really important to make these friendships. It's going to make independent living much more worthwhile, and it's going to make it easier to do because you're going to have people that you can call on if you need them. The other thing is volunteering, getting involved in the community. I think that's a great way to share your experiences with other people, and to also sort of give back. I feel like a lot of times I get so much help from my family and my community that I want to give back in some way. If you like kids, you could be a big brother, a big sister. You can volunteer for an art organization, anything that you can contribute. And I think that can help show the community that people with disabilities are contributing members so that they can get that vision of disability rather than a needy person that needs help all the time. I think that, getting yourself out there, getting involved, all of those are going to make you valued member of society. And you guys are already well on your way, and you are very valued members of society right now. So, next slide. Okay. When you're talking about independent living, there are so many logistics to work out, and we're obviously not going to be able to talk about all of them today. But there are little tidbits and other things that I think we can share really quickly that might make it a little bit easier. And then, of course, if you have any questions, please ask those. And we're going to post them, I think, tomorrow so that you guys can get answers if we run out of time. One of the most important things is just taking care of yourself. It's going to be hard to live on your own if you're not getting what you need. You need food and you need sleep. Angela was talking about the I cans for her. One of them was feeding herself. For me, that's not one of my I cans, but I can direct other people in helping me to eat. One thing that I found, and I want to share this with everyone because it's made my life so much easier, is long straws and putting soup in a food processor. It has allowed me to eat at work without anybody helping me. I found the long straws from a TC supply store online. I don't have the website, but they're about 20 inches long, and you can cut them down. And then you don't actually even have to feed yourself. You can get it up to your mouth and have it right there. So that has made it much easier for me to help myself at work. Also, as far as sleeping, it's difficult when you have a disability because it can be sort of hard to have enough time in the day. It takes longer to get to bed and it takes longer to get up. But it is so important to get enough sleep, especially if you have a neuromuscular disease. You need to make time. I'm getting about 7 hours of sleep a night right now, which is not enough time. And you have to sort of find other ways that you can give up a little bit of time so that you can get the sleep that you need. Angela, do you want to go through each item, or?
You know what, I think that we'll skip over that and just know that, unfortunately, most of those things on the list will require somebody else, and oftentimes it requires paying somebody else. And as Vance said, budgeting your money and really thinking ahead to pay those people is something that you're going to have to think about. So let's go on to the next slide.
Angela, can I cut in just real quick and say,
yes.
and ask a question of you guys, but before I do that, just make a little bit of an announcement to everybody who's participating tonight. We are going to run over a few minutes because there's some great information. We have just a couple slides left. So know that I think we'll probably be going another 10 minutes or so. But I would like to ask each of you to maybe just as a frame of reference, tell us about what your living situation is just quickly so that there's a frame of reference for people when you're talking about these next few items. And before we move off this slide, I do just want to say and encourage everybody on this phone that if you are becoming an adult or are an adult, that we want to encourage you to make sure that you're getting all of the health-related screenings that are age-appropriate for you outside of your neuromuscular disease. So if you're an individual that goes to an MDA clinic and really utilizes your neurologist or your physical medicine clinician as your primary care doctor, please do not forget that if you're a woman, that you have GYN needs and there are screenings associated with aging, and then if you're a man, there are screenings associated with aging for you also. And we want to make sure that you're keeping up with all of your health needs, not just those that pertain to your neuromuscular disease. So with that being said, if you could each just real quick tell us what your current living situation is before we move on to the next slide.
I live I'm sorry, go ahead, Katrina.
Okay. I am living in a condo downtown in Indianapolis. I just bought it a few months ago, and I'm living with a roommate who is also one of my attendants and my service dog, Duke. I also have a room in my condo that my parents can stay in, which is sort of a nice emergency backup. It's been helpful just a couple of times. I've had attendants that wanted to go on vacation or leave town for the night, and so that's been helpful. But they help me with all of my stuff that's on this list. They help me with cooking. My roommate and I plan our meals ahead, and then she goes to the store and gets everything that she needs for it and makes it for both of us. One thing I want to share with cooking, I use a slow cooker a lot when I cook. And the reason for that is that it makes the food a lot softer. I have trouble chewing, and so I have found that a much easier way to eat things. You know, I can even eat like meatballs and things, which when you cook them on the stove are much harder to eat. So that's been really helpful. They also help me with cleaning. My roommate does a lot of the shopping and errands for us and the laundry. And another thing, one last thing on home maintenance, you're going to be responsible for knowing what needs to go on in your home, and that's a little scary given that you've probably never held a wrench in your hand. But you need to at least know, where is the water heater? Where is the circuit breaker? Who do I call when something happens so that you're not left in the dark? So that's how I've been arranging all of that.
Vance, why don't you go next?
Sure. I am married. I have my great wife and 2 daughters, and we've got a couple dogs. and we live in a house actually in Maryland. And I live